Hey guys, what's up? It's Willy here, bringing you back episode 3 of Bukkit Plugin Tutorials. Today we're going to be dealing with the player entity and all the fun stuff we can do with that. I'm going to try to make this into a 2 or 3 part mini-series because there is so much we can do with the player entity. It's hard to do it all in one episode without it being ridiculously long. But before I get started, I just want to point out a couple things. Some people have pointed out about the first episode. Second episode hasn't been public yet. I'm going to be trying to get these out every Friday, weekly. So, I do them ahead of time and then I publish them at a later date. But from episode 1, people have pointed out a couple of things. But for the most part, everyone was saying stuff about the logger. So people have pointed out I was using Bukkit.getLogger rather than the plugin's logger itself. And I didn't really notice a difference, but I looked into it a little bit. Apparently I've been doing it wrong my entire life. So when we do this .getLogger, it gets the logger for our plugin, and then we do .info, and it logs with info rather than doing it the way I had done it before, like .get or .log, and then doing level.info, and then doing the message. So this way is a little bit more streamlined and works across whatever plugin you want to use it on. Because we're doing this, which is this class, which is our main class, which is our plugin. Because we're doing it this way, it's getting the title of our plugin from our plugin.yml and putting it in here. So rather than having, tutorial 2 in there and then plugin is finished starting up, we can get rid of the prefix because it'll put the prefix in anyways. And we're also doing .info, which will log with the info tag, which is what most things will show up as unless there's an error. So there's all kinds of different things you can use this for, and I show this more as an example, but this will show up, on enable is fired after your plugin will normally say that it's started up. So if you wanted to put 20 or 30 things in here, loading files, starting whatever methods, whatever you need to do, before you, after you do all that, you can say plugin is finished starting up. So you can make it clear that everything worked properly. And same with on disable. After the plugin has started disabling, on disable will fire. So then you can save your files, you can end processes, and then you can say plugin is shut down. So it's a useful tool when you're doing more advanced things with on enable and on disable. But it's always a good thing to put in anyways, and it doesn't do any harm. It just takes up 1-2 extra lines on your console. Other than that though, no one's really pointed out anything else I had done wrong, and I will be posting the finished product to GitHub or Pastebin or something, and then posting a link in the description of each episode. But one final thing before we get started, you'll notice since I did this instead of Bukkit.getLogger, now org.bukkit.bukkit and java.util.logging.level are now both underlined with yellow and have the little error thing. It's not a full-on error, but it's something that you should be fixing, because with this it's just not used. So if I made let's say string str equals nothing, just an empty string, if I didn't use that, actually let's put it in here, if I just never use that, it'll be underlined with yellow, just to let you know, hey, this is pointless, it's just taking up space, so you can safely get rid of that. But there's a shortcut with your imports. You can do Control-Shift-O and it'll get rid of excess imports and clean it all up and everything for you, which is pretty nice, especially when if you moved a bunch of your code to a different class and you suddenly weren't using a lot of your imports, Control-Shift-O will get rid of a bunch of them for you. But yeah, so that's everything from the last couple episodes. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy tut2 and then paste it. We'll make it tut3. So like I said, today we're going to be going over some player manipulation kind of things. But what I specifically want to get involved with is teleportation and potion effects for this episode, at least. In the next episode we'll get into some more advanced and fun things. This is just something I want to do for right now. So we're going to get rid of our two commands here just to clean it up a little bit, but actually we'll get rid of this one. We'll use this since it's already the if sender is instance of player. And if you haven't watched the last two episodes, basically this just makes sure that whoever's sending the command is actually a player rather than the console. So we're going to keep this else statement here. So, you know, if it's not a player, console cannot run this command. So we're going to do /lobby as our command, and we'll set an alias for /l or something later on. But what we're going to do is set up we're going to hard code some coordinates, and we'll get later on into a config, and we'll talk about how to use the config to your advantage, and we'll get into multiple files like message files, data files so you can save information on players and that kind of thing. We'll get into all kinds of that stuff later on down the road, but for now we're just going to stick with the hard-coded coordinates for right now. So we're going to stick with player equals player sender. So this is just casting the player entity or the player type, player object from sender into a player, and we're naming that player to player. So that's just some basic Java stuff. And if you want more Java information kind of thing when we're doing these tutorials, let me know in the comments or on the thread on spigotmc.org, which I'll link to as well in the description. And then I'll try to make sure everyone's getting something from these. But what we're going to do here, we're going to set up our coordinates. So we'll do int x, which is an integer, equals, and we'll do 110 int y equals, and I think 6264 is a safe y coordinate because that's your height coordinate, so you don't want to be teleporting in the middle of the ground. And then for int z or z or whatever, we'll do negative 173. So we've got our coordinates now, but we still need to get the world. And we can also specify the pitch and yaw, but if we don't, I do believe it just has it at level pitch and faces you to south, but I always get mixed up between pitch and yaw because it's kind of plain terms. But anyways, we can ignore that, and it'll just set it to default, looking straight ahead to south, I'm pretty sure, without looking up or down, just straight ahead. But we do, however, need the world. So we'll do world equals, I believe it's bucket.get world, get worlds, get the int, so we'll get the first world, and I do believe it should be 0, and that'll get the first world, because with arrays it starts off as 0. So your first, like for example for string args, with this being an array of strings, your first string would be string 0. So that's just how arrays work with Java. And of course we will mouse over this and import world from org.bucket. Also 1.12 has come out, so now using that as the jar file to build these on. But it doesn't really matter until we're getting into methods and things that have come out in 1.12, or potion effects or particle effects that have come out in 1.12. But we'll get into that kind of stuff more down the road. None of the stuff we're doing right now is advanced enough to be that new. So you could be doing this on 1.7.10 if you really wanted, but I'd suggest at least using 1.8, because then we're using UUIDs instead of just the player name. So now we'll get our location. I usually just do LOC for locations, and we'll import from org.bukkit, and new location. I do believe is world X, Y, Z, and that should give us a location. So you'll notice all 4 of these things suddenly are no longer underlined or have the unused tag next to them. However, location is unused. But we're going to be doing player dot teleport location, and then we'll put in LOC. So just like that, we've teleported our player to our hard-coded location. Now, this isn't the best way to do this. It's a lot better to use a config for these values, but like I said, we're going to get into configs later on in the series. But next, we're going to be doing potion effects. So we're going to do player.add potion effects. And then inside this, and again, this is just my way of doing this. A lot of people would set the potion effect on its own, but I'm just going to be doing it all in this one line. So new potion effect, and then we're making a potion effect here. So potion effect type should just be potion effect type dot, and then we can see here we have all of these different potion effects. I think we'll just go with speed just because that's a basic potion effect. It's not really, unheard of. It's pretty common and it makes sense. If we're going to our lobby, you might want to have speed. You can also add jump to this. The next thing we're adding is int duration. So for duration, I do believe it is in seconds. So we'll do 60 seconds. Oops. Apologies. After the potion effect speed, since we're separating the settings per se, do a comma after potion effect types dot speed, and then after int 60, and then this is the amplifier, so the level of the enchantment. So speed 3, speed 4 kind of thing. So we'll do 4 just so it's very noticeable, and then semicolon at the end of that. And then of course we have to import and okay, no, I see what's going on here. So we just gotta get rid of the object types here. So get rid of int and get rid of potion type, and there we go. And then I guess we can also add, just copy and paste that, and then change this. Should just be jump, all capitals, I guess. And then we'll do the same duration, the same amplifier, and then just like that, we have our teleport and potion effects. What we could also do is make these extremely long, and then they last for really long period of time. You can make them short and then check if they're at a certain location or within a certain location, and if they are, they continue to get them, similar to how a beacon would work. Or you can just set them to a normal amount of time, like 60 seconds, and then they'll continue, like they'll get it, and then they have to do /lobby again to get it again. So obviously they wouldn't be able to get too far. One more thing I kind of want to do today is check for permissions. To do this, it's pretty simple to do permissions. Once we've got player, which we do player. That's being if. So if player dot has permission, and then it takes a string here, so tutorial.lobby. So if player has that permission, and then we'll just copy all of this stuff. We'll cut it, and then paste it inside those brackets, and then else. And then this is where we could have a you don't have permissions for this message. So we'll just copy that and cut that out and say you do not have permission. And then we can change this to player since we have the player. It doesn't really matter at this point, but it's usually better if you have player to use it. And then at this spot here, we'll do a light green and say you have arrived at the lobby. And then save that. And then it looks like we have a couple of several actually unused imports. So we'll just do Control Shift and O, and I'll get rid of all of those. We'll save it again, and you'll see we are error free, and that should be everything we need to do. So we'll go into plugin.yml, change this to tutorial 3. I'll change this to 3. Change the description to teleports player to lobby and gives potion effects. And we change the main to tut3.main. So again, it's your package name. Yeah, it's your package name. So my mistake there. So we should name this tut3. Save it. We could theoretically keep this the same, but the way I'm doing this is so all the plugins can be on the server at the same time without conflicting with each other than the fact they all share commands. Then we'll mouse over this and move main.java to package me.inamine.tut3, and then like last time we will delete tut2. Okay, and then go back to your Notepad++, and again use Notepad++ rather than Notepad or any other editor unless you have something you know works. Notepad++ is just a very good default to use. And make sure the main is whatever your package name is, dot, and then whatever your main class name is. We'll get rid of these, the first one here. We'll change this from please to lobby, and description will be teleports to lobby and gives potion effects, and the alias will be L. And if you want to do multiple, you just put them in the square brackets. You could do lob if you wanted. And then there we go. So that's done. So we'll go click on tut3 again, hit F5 to refresh it, and we'll go to export, Java, jar file. We'll come here, we'll rename it to tutorial 3 or whatever you choose to rename it to. Click finish. And then you go to your plugin folder. If you're using a host like Bisect Hosting, then you go to your FileZilla or the FTP manager on their website. I prefer FileZilla. It's just a nicer, easier way to do it. Move to your plugins folder, and then you go to the folder where you have your jar files saved, and then just move tutorial 3 over. Refresh it just to make sure it's there. Then you go into Minecraft. I still have my items from last time. Do /reload. And again, don't use reload if you're on an actual server. I only use reload because it's faster than actually restarting the server. And we'll do /pl. It's there, no errors this time. That's nice. So we'll do /lobby. Oh, and it appears we've gone in the middle of the ocean for whatever map I'm on right now, or whatever seed I'm on. I should, if I'm in GMS, right, game mode 0, lobby. And you can see in the top right and here the that's new, the potion effects, and it would appear that I either had them in the wrong order or they go by ticks, but I'll figure that out for you right now and then show you how to set it up to be the way we wanted it to be. Okay, so it appears that it is in ticks. So what we'd want to do, since there's 20 ticks in every second, and this was to be 60 seconds, we just want to multiply 60 by 20, or whatever amount you wanted it to be. So we'd have 12,000, so 1,200, sorry. So 1,200 and 1,200, and it seemed like it didn't give us the amplifier of 4. I'm not sure if it's incapable of doing that or not, or maybe it just didn't show up the way I'd expected it to, because I haven't done potion effects in a little while. So what we can do here, is I'll test it one more time. No, I can't actually. So we'll just save that and export it again. Next, should be all the same, so finish. Open up FileZilla and your files, refresh, drag that over and overwrite, and reload, and then /lobby. Now we have, there we go, our jump boost 4 and our speed 4. So if we're here, quite a bit of jump boost and quite a bit of speed. It's hard to tell, but now that we're on a flat surface, it's pretty quick. And then you'll see it was for 60 seconds. So that is how you do that. And then I'll just show you the permissions. Since I don't have a permissions plugin on this server at the moment, I just use op for permissions. So we'll de-op inamine, and then I'll do /lobby. Oops. You do not have permission. So it doesn't teleport me. I still have my jump boost and my speed from before, but it didn't refresh that or change it. And it doesn't do anything from that plugin or from that command. It just, like, if I don't have the permission, it just does whatever's in this chunk here, which is just you do not have permission, and then it returns true, finishes handling the command, and then that's it. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. I will show you actually one more thing real quick. This is the console from Bisect Hosting, and as you can see on this line here, it still uses the prefix, so tutorial 3 plugin is finished starting up, and that's what I had wrote here. Plugin is finished starting up. Oops. And if we did /lobby, it would say console cannot run this command. Color codes don't work in console. There is a way to do them, but it's not the chat color .translate alternate color codes. So I was mistaken when I did that, because you can see here I did do &C, and it did get rid of the &C, as you can see, but it doesn't actually change it to the color red. Now I'm not sure if that's just because of that's how this handles it, or if that's how all consoles handle it. So you may experience something differently, but I've seen colors in this from other plugins. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more, leave a like, hit subscribe, and leave a comment on what you want to see next. Next episode will probably be more player manipulation things. I might even make a config and save some values in there, and we'll build on what we just built on. It'll be all kinds of fun, but leave suggestions for future episodes, and I'll try to get to everything as soon as possible. And as always, peace out.